gotta love it, you know. Anyway, so that was our hunt. That first science is great. So here we are, lowering our vehicle, beginning our hunt, and again, because the vehicle doesn't have to come up, I can stay down 24 hours a day, 24/7. And there we are. I'm a little. I don't think I can get in that anymore. But anyway, close, close. Certainly had more hair back then. But anyway, that is our moment of discovery. We picked up the debris field. So we came in on the debris field, and then we turned. So, and we didn't know initially if it was the Titanic. It was just stuff. And this was the same place that the convoy routes during World War II years later, and they sunk a lot of ships, the Germans did. So we actually expected to find other things. So when we came in on this debris field, we didn't know. But then we came over the boiler. And we had a picture of that boiler on the wall. And we knew we had it. And then we walked it up and came in on the bow. Now the weather set in. This is where they made the movie The Perfect Storm. So we had to clear out. We got blown out after a couple days. They only had 4 days to look at the ship. And then we had to wait a year to come back. And we came back with our submarine. We brought our first little robot, Jason Jr., a miniature version of the one we were going to build, JJ. And we went down to the Titanic and relocated it, and then did a marvelous exploration of it with our vehicle system, little JJ. We went down the grand staircase. I'll never forget going down the grand staircase. And we were sort of scared. It was scary because we thought we were inside that robot. And when you get into when you're driving the robot, you're convinced you're in it. So imagine we used this wall here because we didn't get disoriented because the whole grand staircase was gone. It was this big shaft, a big elevator shaft. And we went down it, and we're imagining us looking at our screen, but we think we're inside the robot. And we turn, and a light comes on in front of us. We talk about extraterrestrial. I mean, a light came on in front of us, and we first we about had a heart attack, and then we realized, well, oh yeah, that's the robot. It's not us. We can now. So we went over and we looked at where the light, and it was actually a chandelier shining our lights back at us. That was sort of frightful. But anyway, but that year we made a complete mosaic of the ship. We made a complete mosaic of the ship and published it in National Geographic. And I'll get back to that in a second. Years later, now we now sit on the sidelines for years and years and years, and we're watching all the salvagers, all the grave robbers going out. We're watching all the tour dives. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dives are being made on the Titanic, mostly by France and Russia. And so finally, we came back in 2004. And we says, let's go back and see what's happened to the Titanic since our discovery. And we went with a new version, and that became the system we have here, the Hercules and Argus system. This is the present generation vehicle system that I now have. This is my new exoskeleton. I love it. I love being inside this robot. And so we went down and we explored. We brought a giant lighting system called Argus that is sort of the eye in the sky, but it also gives us this beautiful view of what's beneath it. So we work under the lights of this artificial sun. And here it is lighting up the bow of the Titanic. There's our cable back. You got to be a little careful about wrapping things. But we're now down on the bow and we're exploring, seeing the massive anchors. I would be about this tall. That's how big these anchors are. They're gigantic anchors. And we made this, we collected, you saw some of the footage as we were getting ready to do the program. We collected 250 hours of images. It was quite amazing. This is where Leonardo was standing when he says, I'm king of the world. But anyway, this is up in the back. But it was quite miraculous. And we could start to see what the beauty of the ROVs, as opposed to the submarines, I'll talk about the damage they're doing. The ROV, you can hover. You can get within an inch of something. And look how close we are to the telemotor. Because the ROV it's not in contact. It can get extremely close. It looks, but it doesn't touch. And then we put it in what we call closed loop control. This was our mapping, so there's our depth. And we began doing a systematic mosaic of the ship and created a new one. Okay? So now we've got one that are almost 20 years apart. So we can now put those two together and show you what's happened to the Titanic in time. And what we've seen between, now this was done film, this is digital, but I'll be blowing this up, but you could see the damage being done by the submarines. Crow's nest, no crow's nest. Right here, you can see where they're landing. And the important thing to look at is to look at where a submarine can land and where a submarine can't land. And where they can't land, there's no damage. They're identical. Where they can land, you can see all the damage. And that's what we've been able to document, is the damage. That is where a submarine lands. See, it crushes the deck, exposes a fresh surface that's orange. So whenever you see orange, you know that's a recently exposed surface of the Titanic, and most of the time caused by a submarine. Here is the crow's nest. When we saw it, the French knocked it off. This light there, now on display. So even though they said they didn't take anything off the Titanic, they were dumb enough to take the ones and show them, and we have pictures of them attached to the Titanic. This is all this damage where submarines are landing up by the Marconi. See all the damage? Amazing amount of damage done by the submarine. But see, we're able to hover and not touch it all. I don't have any problem of submarines visiting. If you have a spare $63,000, you can buy a ticket. But I have no trouble with people visiting. But, you don't go to the Louvre and stick your finger in the Mona Lisa. And that's what we're talking about. Trying to look at how do we move forward in conservation and preservation. And I'll talk about it. Trash everywhere now. All sorts of trash. I mean, the protocol when you're above a historical site, you don't dump your trash. And the salvagers, when they pick up something, they have to leave something of equal weight. So all around the Titanic is just trash that they've left from their salvage operations. Everywhere you go, there's all this trash. And the thing that really disturbs me most of it is when we were exploring it, everything down there is gigantic, and you can get quickly sidetracked on big things. But to me, the most compelling images are images like this. That's where that was a body. Remember that after the Titanic sank, the Titanic went to the bottom at 45 miles an hour and crashed on the bottom very quickly. But the people, the water was so freezing cold that day, and it took about 20 minutes for them to die. If they weren't in a lifeboat, they died. They died in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. If they had a life jacket, many of the bodies were found, and most of them were buried in Halifax. But many people didn't have any lifeboats. The life jackets. Hundreds and hundreds of people died, and then it rained down. A rain of human bodies came raining down all across the Titanic. Animals quickly found them and removed their flesh. And the deep sea at that temperature is undersaturated in calcium carbonate, which is what your bones are made out of. And the skeleton will actually dissolve in the deep oceans. It takes about 5 years. But what's left behind, where it used to be attached to the body, are the shoes, because of the tannic acid that goes into the leathering process. But everywhere around the Titanic are pairs of shoes, of sailors' shoes. This is pretty powerful. A mother with her daughter that died together in a second-class cabin. You can tell by the hole in the top. My position is you don't go to Getty